regrafting some of these plants that I started grafting more than a month ago. These are part of the big project that I mentioned on a previous video. And basically I want to be able to offer 1 gallon plants on hard to find varieties. And of course we offer scions in just about every variety that we can grow, but it's nice to have a 1 gallon plant that can become its own tree. Grafts already taken and all that kind of thing. So this is a big project, and so far I've learned, I hope, something about what will influence the factors for success in grafting these trees. And one thing that I learned is that it's very important to keep the plants very well hydrated. This is very heavy. This soil, I just watered the whole plant, soaked it yesterday. Over here, I have a plant soaking. It's got another 10 or 15 minutes to go. I like to soak them for at least 20 minutes. This was very light, and I lifted it up, so I want to make sure that it's very well hydrated before I graft. Now, one of the viewers of the first video asked if I could compare the top cleft graft to the side veneer graft. As you notice, or you can notice, all of these are failed grafts of the side veneer. But my fails are not limited to side veneer. We have 2 fails in the top cleft graft. This one was very happy for a period of time, and then it stopped being happy. Both of these rootstocks appear to be dead. This might be sprouting out from down here, but yeah, they both look very not usable. That's sort of the problem with the top cleft graft. It's an all or nothing situation. If you don't get, well, let me show you one thing. Be right back. This is what you have to do if you're going to reuse a failed top cleft graft. You have to wait for it to start growing. Of course, that's going to be below the graft. And this has to be substantial before you end up grafting on the other part of this rootstock. So anyway, top cleft graft is wonderful when it works out. It's fast and very efficient, but if it doesn't work out, you can't reuse it. So here I'm reusing this. First one was Pettigrew. This one that I just put on is Tess Pollock. And both of those varieties, very hard to find, very popular. Not as well known as many other popular varieties though. So anyway, we'll hope that the second time is the charm here. But there are a few other things I wanted to show you in some of the grafts that I've done already. So I have some freshly potted up seeds here. That one is looking great for grafting. Put a little Rosa scion here. It's looking good as far as it's still green, hoping that takes. Pettigrew still looking green. It's been a little while it's been on, so that's good news. This one sort of fooled me when it was off in a dark place, because this looks pretty dark right here, but it's still good. That is dwarf Hawaiian. So hopefully we can please some dwarf Hawaiian people. That one's fairly fresh. There's one around here that I gotta find. It's a fun one. Yeah, I think it's this one. You have to sort of look hard on this, but of course this is really brown and crackly. But down here where it's joined to the, well, I'm hoping it's joined to the rootstock, it's actually green here. So it's very likely, or at least possible, that this will actually sprout out from, even though this part of the scion is dead, this part seems to be alive. So the lower third seems to be alive. So what do I do in this situation? Well, hang on a second. I wasn't prepared. Okay. So these new leaves have to go. This is tender young growth, and it is actually, when it's at this stage, it's taking more energy than it's giving back to the plant. So take that off, and I think I'll even do the second growth flush also. What grafts need usually is about 4 leaves above them for this, the part of the, well, in this case, the rootstock to remain active. So that, these leaves are smaller, but we have, it looks like 9 leaves, so seems like a good number. And we'll hope that that starts sprouting out. You want to make sure that there are no other sprout outs that you don't want. This is the only thing you want to sprout out. So I would say in another week, I think I will take off the elastic, and so that it doesn't have anything hindering a possible bud. So that's the story of this graft. Here's a top cleft that seems to be working out, I hope. That's Rosa. And right here you can see just the smallest little sprout out. You don't want it there. You just take your fingernail and scratch it off, because that will divert the energy from going to the scion that you want to live to just a little shortcut, and it would start developing a branch there. And in fact, I think we've got the same situation right here. This is the top cleft, and so I think that's on the side of the rootstock where it's starting to sprout out there. You want these buds that are on the Rosa to sprout out. So I'm going to just gouge that out also. So hopefully that Rosa will start sprouting out instead of the rootstock. Yeah, here's another top cleft graft that failed, and it looks like it might be sprouting out down here, but basically it doesn't look like a rootstock that I'll be able to use again. Put that down out of the action. Oh, I did want to show you this one. This is an ice cream mango, and that's one that I did more than a year ago. It's going to stay in its 1-gallon pot, because even though it's a commonly available variety in 3-gallon, I happen to like it a lot, and somebody is going to want the cheaper price for the 1 gallon. Another situation where it looks very bad for this particular scion, but it's starting to spread out. So definitely do not go by the color of the scion. You want to make sure that it's not crackly. But this is Zill-Indo-Chinese, and it is starting to sprout out. One thing that I'm going to do now, let's see, is when I have a promising looking graft like this one, is to trim off some of these younger leaves and growth. There's two reasons to do this. And one of those reasons is to make sure that the plant sends plenty of energy to this part that you want to grow. But the second reason is if a plant has tons of leaves on it, it actually will use a lot of water faster, and the pot itself will dry out much more quickly than one that has just a few leaves. So that's just a sort of a good way to do it. This is a failed graft, and I watered this yesterday, but it's very lightweight. So of course I cut back the growth and when I first grafted it, but look at all the sprouts. We have like 3 sprouts coming out that are very small, 2 that are larger, 1 down here. All of that new growth is just not good news. So I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to probably use it later today, I hope, but cut off the new growth for sure. I've got 4 leaves and 1 little tiny leaf, and so anyway, it won't dry out as quickly when I regraft that. So showing you all my fails in grafting has probably left you with the impression that I have not had any success at all. And that's not true. I mean, grafting is frustrating the way I do it anyway, because, you know, my schedule varies and the plant's needs are sort of constant. This is a top cleft graft that has been successful. Unlike the other ones that I showed you, this has plenty of leaves down here, and so the plant was active, and this graft has taken. Interesting, at least to me, is that the very top part of this scion died. This is the major bud that developed, and so we have 5 leaves on that, and then the one above it is actually slower, and it seems to be sprouting out with a bunch of leaves right now. So anyway, that's one of the successes in the top cleft department. And this is a success in the side veneer department. This particular graft here, that's Carla, and it just has 3 shoots from the top, and they all look very nice. What I'm waiting for before I cut back the rootstock to this point here is I'm waiting for this new growth to get to be a normal size. These are very small leaves, and so I want to have real leaves, and when this is really established, possibly in 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe longer, I will cut right here a 45-degree angle, cut back the rootstock, and so this would all be a Carla plant. So anyway, 2 examples of 2 different types of grafts. But I'd say that the main thing that I've learned from the grafting is to make sure that the rootstock stays moist. Water it well before grafting initially, and don't let it dry out, because when it dries out it gets into a survival mode, and it's going to save itself before it saves this foreign thing that's attached to it. So water well, and then also, when you can, reduce the number of leaves that are on the plant. You want to leave at least 4 to keep the plant active, unless you're doing the all or nothing top cleft graft strategy where there's no leaves at all, but it definitely will help keep the moisture in the soil. And also, last thing to do to help keep the moisture in the soil is take all the weeds out, because those weeds, even though they're not big competition for the plant, they are taking some of the moisture out of the soil. So that's a little update on how things are going with my grafting of 1-gallon mango trees. I'm hoping to produce a lot of plants, or at least enough plants for everyone who would like them, of these varieties that are difficult to find. And apparently, in some situations, it's going to take me more than one try for each plant. But it's a type of grafting that the side veneer and the top cleft, that you don't actually have to do 100 grafts at a time. You can sit down and do just a couple grafts and put them in a protected location. It's good not to have a lot of wind, because of course that dries out the leaves too and can break off the new growth. But just when you have a few minutes here and there, try to graft and see how it goes.